Ah! Fuck, it's hot in that thing. What's going on? How you guys all doing? That fucked up my hair, didn't it? I thought that would be fun. I thought that would be a fun way to start off the episode today, wearing my Chewbacca mask that my girlfriend's mom bought me a while ago. It is way too small for my face. I have a huge thumb-shaped head. Makes it very difficult to wear it and laugh. But I try because I love you fuckers. That's why we're here, right? It's the 8th of August 2018. It's a good day. There's a lot to get through today. There's a lot of fun stuff. Yesterday went on a little bit longer than I wanted, just in terms of that last piece. Did not realize that was going to be a thing. I didn't realize it was going to be as long as it was. Did not expect to get frustrated once again 2 years later over Ghostbusters. Shit happens. It always does happen. So there's definitely that. So yeah, how you guys doing? You guys doing good? Hope everything is going well. All right, let me just get myself resituated here, because that Chewbacca mask was a last minute addition. It was a last minute little gag, as well as my Ewok shirt. So as you guys can tell, I'm definitely in a bit of a Star Wars mood today. So there's definitely that. I'm just kind of looking through over the chat here. Yeah, I got a haircut yesterday. After going to the I don't know if you guys have been following this. I don't know if any of you guys even care. I've been I want to wait about a couple more minutes, let people kind of come on in. So I signed up for a personal trainer, right? I found a Groupon, good deal, $60 for 4 sessions. That's a solid deal for a personal trainer. And I've gone 2 days in a row, and I can barely move today. I am feeling it in all crevices of my body, and it really goes to show you that exercise is a proper thing to do. And the great thing about this personal trainer and why I've been actually kind of tempted to vlog this experience, my goal to drop about 30 pounds. I'm about 235 right now. I'd like to get down to about 200 if that's at all possible. But it's good to do this stuff from home. I'm feeling better today. I'm feeling more energized today. Which is awesome, because that allows me to then kind of repurpose that energy into conversations with you guys, which is one of the reasons why I do enjoy doing this live. So there's definitely that. All right, so we're about 7 minutes in. People here want to know what's going on with some people. Obviously Jared Kushner has been brought up here, and I think it's going to be an interesting story to cover the Jared Kushner thing, because there are people out there that are going to get mad at it because I'm criticizing Kushner. But if you care at all about ethics, if you cared at all about Gamergate, then this is one of those moments when you're kind of going to look at it and go, yeah, maybe there's something here we're talking about, and maybe this dude is a little bit scummier than I think a lot of people out there maybe realize. But in the meantime here, if you guys haven't already, be sure to slam on that like. Don't be gentle with it. Hit it repeatedly. Make sure it really sticks. Make sure it knows that you're its boss and it's your bitch, because that really does help out the show in terms of engagement. YouTube really likes that sort of thing. And as always, if you come in late, or if you have to leave early and you miss out on some of the programs, the videos will be up here in a couple hours as usual. So without first things first, let's take a look here at the story of the day. Let me just adjust my monitor. Let me just bring up here the key one, the one I've been talking about here. Is Alex Jones a gigantic hypocrite? And I kind of think that he is. Now, this particular article popped up here today on InfoWars website, saying the attack on InfoWars is deep state cyber warfare. This is real election meddling. Obviously written by Paul Joseph Watson, who is the #1 arbiter of bullshit, I think, outside of Alex Jones on there. And of course, it says here that the coordinated corporate attack on InfoWars this week represents nothing less than election meddling and cyber warfare. It doesn't, but okay. In addition to being banned on almost every major social media network, InfoWars servers are now under attack, with frivolous claims that we distribute porn being made in an attempt to have InfoWars website completely wiped off the web. Now, I don't agree with any of that. If someone's doing that, stop it. That's not doing well. But that, honestly, I predicted it the other day. It says here that the following platforms have all banned InfoWars over the past 3 days, and not a single case did any of them point to a specific video, statement, or piece of content that violated their rules. Facebook, YouTube, Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Audio Boom, Pinterest, MailChimp, Stitcher, Discuss, Sprout Social, and LinkedIn. An electronic lynch mob pressured all these companies to cave to partisan outrage, and they gleefully complied. Here's the thing with that, though, guys. I don't fully buy his bullshit. I'm sorry. I don't buy his bullshit. I don't want Alex Jones removed off of these platforms, but that is not to say that I agree with the content he puts out, that I support the content he puts out, and that some of it is very, 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 very suspicious in regards of where it goes in terms of the law. The First Amendment is not absolute as much as I'd like it to be, because when you start calling on defamation and slander and those sort of things, it really does start skirting the edge of people's terms of service, right? This is what they've been getting him on, these terms of services. Now, in the case of YouTube, YouTube is already kind of whittling away at Alex Jones anyway. Some of the content he had said had been called into question. They had removed a few of the videos. They suspended him from streaming for 90 days. He then started circumventing that ban by going to multiple other channels to stream InfoWars. They decided that that was a terms of service violation, and that's one of the reasons why they pulled him. That's one of the reasons why they did it. Now, again, this whole thing is not just an instantaneous, in the minute type move. This is very much a build up to it, and it's a problem. But here's why I want to bring up the hypocrite thing, because, and this is important, is the fact that even on InfoWars' own website, it admits that it is not censorship if you violate the rules and your post is deleted. Dun, 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 right? So here we've got Alex Jones running around the internet for the last couple of days claiming censorship, 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 nonstop censorship, but yet his own website holds terms of services that are roughly identical to the websites that pulled him. So live by the sword, die by the sword, am I right? It's hard. It's a hard one to defend, especially if you are a right-leaning individual who criticized James Gunn and was okay with him being fired, but you're against Alex Jones being pulled from the platform. See, this is where we get into a much larger and albeit more difficult discussion, because it's a much more difficult discussion when you start looking at the concept of a private corporation, what can they do, and whether or not you need government oversight, because this is where we're basically finding ourselves. Now, the article does go on here to say that conspiracy theorist Alex Jones has responded to social media platforms, removing InfoWars pages by claiming he's being targeted in a Nazi-style censorship campaign, when in reality, the content is being taken down because it violates the terms of rules incorporated by those sites. Ironically, InfoWars' own website has a list of terms and conditions that one must agree to if they wish to use the website, which states, it is not censorship if you violate the rules and your post is deleted. Apple, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and a number of other social media giants have opted to drop Jones and InfoWars content from their sites, which according to Jones is a violation of his right to free speech, as he can no longer post on those platforms. Of course, the obvious rebuttal to Jones and his ilk is private companies, unlike the government, are not required to allow you to use their space to broadcast your ideas, which then brings us right over here to their terms of service page. And I don't just want to clip this out of context. I don't want to clip that particular passage out of context. I want to show it to you in the full, broad context of just exactly what is InfoWars terms of service, what they allow, what they don't allow, and their comment, well, when you might have an issue if you've been banned from InfoWars. Now, it says here that by using Infowars.com, you agree to the following when making a comment. You will stay on topic. You will not spam. Spam is flooding the internet with unnecessary or out-of-topic comments. If you've watched Alex Jones recently, holy hell, he spams his own show. You will not include links to websites and videos not associated with the topic. You will not post the same comment multiple times on the same different articles. You will not solicit anyone to buy or sell products or services or to make donations of any kind. You will not include link to products in your status updates, comments, articles, or groups. You will not post anything libelous, defamatory, harmful, threatening, harassing, or abusive, invasive of another's privacy, hateful, racially or ethnically objectionable, or otherwise illegal. You will not make threats to other users or people associated with the site. If you violate these rules, your comment and or your username will in fact be deleted. Now that is from the exact terms of service on Infowars.com. That is basically cookie cutter with a lot of the other stuff that happens. All right. This is how it goes. This is basically a general terms of service. So Alex Jones, by having this terms of service, by making sure that it's there so people know not to violate it, essentially means that he is okay with him being taken down for violating other private companies' terms of service. Now, there is going to be a pushback argument on this that says, well, who's to say what is right or what is wrong or what's allowed and what isn't? And ultimately, it boils down to one of two solutions. It really does. Either you have to allow private companies to continue operating the way that they see fit, or two, you have to ask that the government comes in and regulates these companies and basically forces them to abide by public, by utility regulations, and therefore they have to protect free speech. That's basically what it boils down to. And it's really funny because now we're seeing this conversation on the right. We're seeing some people come out and want more government oversight on these particular situations. It's a weird place to be. It really is. But I do want to go back to the Mediaite article because I do focus on another bit from the particular TOS that I find to be interesting. It says here, you will not post anything libelous, defamatory, harmful, threatening, harassing, abusive, invasive of another's privacy, hateful, racially or ethnically objectionable, or otherwise illegal. You will not make these threats to other users or people not associated with the site. If you violate these rules, your posts and or username will be deleted. Remember, and this is what I want you guys to pay attention to here, you are a guest here. It is not censorship if you violate the rules and your post is deleted. All civilizations have rules. If you violate them, you can expect to be ostracized from the tribe. Wouldn't that exact same argument then be applied to how people in Silicon Valley have been responding to Alex Jones? Now, I'm pointing this out as a devil's advocate approach. I don't think Jones should have been pulled down. I'm merely pointing out the fact that his own website that is owned and operated by him states this exact terms of service for violation of rules on the site. Again, there is that question of what exactly constitutes that particular rule set or who's going to enforce it. But live by the sword, die by the sword, considering that we're talking about private companies here. It's a really tough situation because what are you going to do? What exactly are you going to do at this point? Jones has repeatedly broken terms of services from websites in terms about the conversation, the type of content that they push. Facebook, for example, unpublished 4 of his pages and banned him for 30 days because he kept posting certain things and trying to circumvent things. YouTube pulled him because of that. iTunes pulled 4 specific podcasts that they deemed to contain speech that they didn't like. And again, I'm not all for that, but see, the way that iTunes tends to work out is you have a server, you host your own audio, that goes out to iTunes. iTunes then aggregates sometimes to other platforms like Stitcher or you use your RSS feed and it will go out to different platforms. It's not like one specific group controls all the podcasting. There's a lot there to get into. But when we look at the situation, it really does bring up the questions about where the future of this type of content is going to go. Jones himself is not being censored by the government, which is true. Jones himself can continue posting on InfoWars, which if he owns the servers, then he's going to be able to do indefinitely. And he's not going to be, he's not being run off of Twitter because Jack Dorsey said that they did nothing wrong, and that's good. He can still broadcast through Periscope, so that's also fine. And so he's not really being censored in the way that a lot of people are trying to argue it. What he's being busted for essentially are violating terms of services run by these private companies, terms of services that he ultimately shares the same opinion as on his private website. It's just, this is more of a food for thought scenario rather than trying to actually sit there and say that it needs to be one way or another. Because when we start talking about this issue, we do need to look at all the factors. And Jones having this terms of service on a site, which I find to be very ironic, considering that it's like, don't say libelous things. Yet he's out there saying that, like, Robert Mueller is a pedophile supporter, or that he rapes kids, or that Obama sleeps with 10 dudes a day, right? So clearly he doesn't live by his own standards, but he wants to hold you to a different one. Doesn't that sound a lot like social justice warriors? Doesn't it sound a lot like the left? Doesn't it really kind of break it all down that the extremes on either side are generally full of shit? Again, this is something to consider as we move forward in the situation and we look to the future of how to handle it. I think Jones should be allowed to come back. I do. I think once he gets past his 90-day streaming ban on YouTube, let him come on back, Don't tell him, don't violate any more of the policies. Have your opinion. But he's been going more and more and more unhinged as time goes on. And this whole situation validates him because it kind of proves his globalist plot right. And he's allowed to, then he can act as a martyr, and he's been pushing for more people to buy his soy supplements and his, perennial wipes and everything else. So Jones will ultimately be just fine, but it does raise a lot of questions in regard to, is he a hypocrite? And I think he is. I think he's beating his chest and he's rattling his saber and he's getting all upset when he holds the exact same views as the companies who then used their own terms of service against him. All right, let's talk about Jared Kushner here, because Kushner is going to be a fun one to talk about. Kushner is going to be very interesting. Oh, very, very, very interesting here. So if you don't know anything about what's going on with Kush at this point in time, we're getting into some ethics stuff here. And this is where Gamergate's important to think about here. Now, it says that Jared Kushner ordered deletion of Observer articles critical of his friends. A senior White House advisor repeatedly ignored journalism ethics when he was the publisher of the New York Observer in 2012, according to BuzzFeed News. Now, ethics is something that we should all push to protect, right? When it comes to journalism, if you're writing a story that is critical of one of your friends or one of your, you got to let it stand. It's an ethics thing. But unfortunately, if you own the newspaper, you can control what happens. And apparently that's what Kushner did. And it just kind of goes to show you that like what you thought was going to be a rather centered, moderate voice in the White House as just another freaking, kind of silver spoon up his ass, unethical bastard. Now, it says here that Kushner personally ordered the deletion of the New York Observer articles that were critical of his friends and real estate colleagues during his time as the paper's publisher. Prior to assuming the role of senior advisor under his father-in-law, President Donald Trump, in 2012, Kushner directed third-party software engineer to remove the content, according to emails obtained by BuzzFeed. The deleted articles included negative coverage of real estate firm Vantage Properties, known as Candlebook Properties, and the company's president, Neil Rubler. One of the deleted URLs appears to have hosted an article about Rubler, making the Village Voice's worst landlords of a New York list in 2012. And considering that a lot of what Kushner is involved in, and especially with what Trump's involved in, and I'm not tying this at all to Trump, I'm just using it as kind of a comparison, is real estate. And being voted one of the worst landlords even in 2010, that's never a good thing. So getting rid of it is pretty scummy, considering that they were just reporting on it, right? But some out there might argue, well, he owns it. He has the ability to control what goes on his platform, which is true. But when you are a news outlet, you are a publisher. Maybe don't do that. Maybe don't do that at all. Now, Kushner also called for the deletion of a 2012 article about his friend, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, buying a $6.75 million apartment in New York. Austin Smith was a software consultant who reportedly fielded and executed Kushner's deletion requests. He wrote about the practice on a Hacker News forum, saying that that Kushner, a newspaper owner of all people, would participate in an administration that labels news media the enemy of the people, is an affront to the very notion of freedom of the press and an utter betrayal to those who worked hard and in good faith for him at the Observer, which is wholly true. Right? It's absolutely true. If you're sitting there and you're ordering a third-party tech guy to go in and get rid of these articles that were critical of people, that's unethical as all hell. And now when we look at Kushner as just a person, and we look at all of the things that have come out around him in regards to his role as a senior advisor in the Trump administration, I'm talking like just not what he's done and the role. Well, that's even questionable too. But looking at like how he's had to update his security release information, or his update all that stuff multiple times because he keeps just magically forgetting that he's met with certain people that the government may want to know that he's met with. Why he lost his security clearance for quite some time over this particular problem. Then he got it back. And we haven't heard much out of Kushner in a while, but still, it doesn't do a lot. These articles and his own actions in regards to being a senior advisor don't bode well for looking at him as being maybe an ethical source of just about anything. The guy's obviously a businessman. The guy's obviously looking to benefit his family, to benefit his business. And I definitely understand that. But at the same time, when you run a newspaper, you should not be doing this. Or you should not be doing this, especially doing it covertly, right? Because that's what it was. He was doing this covertly. Check this out. Even his editor-in-chief at the time says here that secretly removing articles from the news site is universally considered a major ethics violation in the journalism industry. Elizabeth Spears, the former editor-in-chief of The Observer, told BuzzFeed News that she was not aware at the time that Kushner had circumvented editorial leadership to remove articles from the site, saying here that Spears blasted Kushner in a series of tweets on Monday, suggesting that he was the worst possible owner of a news operation. Some readers questioned how the authors wouldn't have noticed their articles being removed, but Spears suggested that it was understandable given the sheer volume of stories The Observer published. And the truth of the matter is that's pretty much a good observation of how he would have gotten away with it. When you publish, like, let's say, the news stories the way that they have them up there, when you look at, like, let's take my channel, for example. So far, over the span of 6 years, I've published nearly 4,800 videos. And right now I'm putting out about 4 per day, which is a lot. It adds up. That's over 100 per month. If I were to delete one or to remove one, unlist it, whatever, for whatever reason, which I have taken videos down in the past for a multitude of reasons. Sometimes I've been outright wrong and I've just taken them down as a way to make sure that I don't, I don't want that information out there anymore. I've made a mistake on that. And we've seen a lot of that stuff. Other times it's errors or stuff has gone wrong, but most people don't know because they're not going to go back and look through the back catalog. They're not going to go look through the back information that's there. And the same thing happens with these reports. We find out about these stories being deleted or being removed or being taken down for whatever reason. But unless there's a big spotlight drawn on it, we're just never ultimately going to know what's happening with that at all. So let's take a look here at that one. I think screwed up. There we go. That's what I want. Let me drink a water here. It's very warm in my office right now. So quick mini break. So it's a business, it's property. I mean, if you're gonna sit there and, like, run a business that's the news and then end up deleting the news, that's kind of, I don't know, it's pretty fucking unethical. Okay, where are we at now? All right. So yesterday I talked about the whole situation involving IGN and Philippe Moussin, whatever his name is, the guy who was the Nintendo editor, who got caught coming very close to outright plagiarizing Boomstick Gaming's review of Dead Cells. Now, I speculated in that we don't quite know everything that happened. We don't know if this was an accidental issue. We don't know if this was just he was influenced by it and it just happened to stick with him and is, to turn a phrase stuck. We don't know about any of that. And that's something that I think ultimately needed to be, well, talked about, because the reason why is because, for one, it shows it takes his character into account. Was this a one-time mistake, or is this an ongoing, persistent issue? Does IGN have a tendency of just not having any oversight? As I mentioned yesterday, when Greg Miller used to work there, he talked about how they didn't have an editor. There wasn't anyone who was overlooking and double-checking everything. So they just kind of regurgitate content and put it out there, and they don't really care. And these are things that, when you are a large publisher like IGN, you really, really, really need people in those positions. So then situations like this just don't happen. But as we learned today, IGN fired Philippe Moussin for plagiarizing the Dead Cells review. It says here that IGN issued a public response on August 7th detailing the outcome of their investigation into accusations of plagiarism by former Nintendo Switch reviewer Philippe Moussin. The response indicates that IGN had fired Moussin for plagiarizing a review of Motion Twin's Dead Cells from YouTuber Boomstick Gaming, and the organization issued an apology for the unethical behavior. saying here that we reviewed the allegations against one of our writers regarding our review of Dead Cells. After taking time to investigate, we determined that there were substantial similarities between a review posted weeks earlier and our review that could not be justified and warranted taking down. Though we as a community often share feelings and even certain word choices to describe the games that we love by using similar frames of understanding, this particular situation stepped over the line and is not a reflection of our editorial standards. We apologize to our readers, developer Motion Twin, and most especially the YouTuber known under Boomstick Gaming for failing to uphold those standards. We take our reviews process seriously. In most cases, reviewers are expected to play a game single player or story campaign to completion at least once, as well as spend additional time capturing gameplay to supply content to the video component of our reviews. Though our Dead Cell reviewer played the game and came away with glowing opinions of it, as did many of our other staff members, the review itself was simply not acceptable. We've parted ways with the writer involved in the review, and we will be re-reviewing Dead Cells this week. We will review tirelessly to ensure that, regardless of whether you agree with our reviews, you can have faith that every word is nothing less than the genuine opinions of our critics. Nothing more is important to us than your trust. Which, let's be fair, that's a very good statement to make, and it was pretty much understandable that they were going to be getting rid of him. I think once that accusation is made, once they pull the review down, he's done. One way or another, he's done. And it is the right move in terms of IGN to protect themselves as a brand. They are the news. They write reviews. They don't want anything being called into question. And there was a lot, because I was able to find side-by-side comparisons of the reviews, which did, yeah, there was a few things that very much came across as being very similar. Like I said, it could have been that Philip watched the review and that he was just influenced by it. He did say that it was his very first video review that he put together. And there are questions that I have there. And the way that IGN came out with the statement is very much not trying to say plagiarism. They're not saying plagiarism. They're saying that there were similarities, which is meant to imply plagiarism, but they're not outright saying that he copied it, which basically just means this is too close for comfort. You done goofed here. We have no other choice but to get rid of you. And the thing is, no one out there is going to defend this guy. No one out there is going to stop for a second and go like, well, what's his side of the story? He's been silent. Now, I would love it if he would come out and he would explain himself. But the fact that he's been silent on the issue tells me that he probably did screw up, that he probably did go and do this. Maybe he felt the pressure by IGN. Maybe he felt that as a Nintendo editor, he had a lot on his plate and he wasn't able to get the review to sound the way that he wanted to. So he maybe went and found some quotes from other people and he kind of just peppered them in there. It's not the right thing to do, by the way. That's not the thing to do at all. I mean, hell, when I used to, this is legitimate. I used to go to E3 and I would fake my way in by literally presenting a business card. And then I would write a review for a video game under the letterhead of the company that I made. And I thought about for a while, I'm like, I could just go copy a review from another website. They're never going to know. But I wanted to make sure that that extra little bit of authenticity was there. So then they wouldn't question everything and I'd be able to kind of get the badge and walk on in. And so I did. I would write out the reviews for me or for whoever else was coming with me, my team, so to speak, and I would present them as they are, and I would get the go ahead and I'd go on in. You know, so yeah, when you want, I mean, if you're in a hurry, if you're in a rush and you're lazy, then yeah, you're gonna sit there and absolutely just get yourself caught essentially. But let's be fair here. Let's be fair. What should happen is that Boomstick Gaming should be hired by IGN. They should hire Boomstick Gaming as a person to write reviews, because clearly his reviews are good enough to steal, or at least to be heavily influenced by. But the article does go on to say here, because they talk a little bit more about the process at IGN. Said in here that there's another thread posted by the editorial manager of games at IGN, Tina Amini, who claimed that she would do everything in her power to make amends. Like hire Boomstick Gaming. Again, I just kind of want to put that out there. She says here that I also know that this community is particularly rich and vibrant one, not just because of large content producers like IGN, but because of passionate people like him who work to share their voice and effort with fellow passionate gamers. I will do everything in my power to ensure that we make amends today. Something like that, like this, does not happen tomorrow or ever again. And then it goes on to say here, as typical from game journalist community, the journalists crowded around and comforted Amini for making the decision. Almost all the usual suspects popped up in the thread. Nevertheless, the decision to fire Philip Musin helped save some face at IGN, for given how overwhelming the evidence was that Musin had wholesale lifted portions of his review of Dead Cells from YouTuber Boomstick Gaming. And journalist Nick Monroe cataloged many of Musin's tweets and discovered that based on past tweets, he didn't seem averse to plagiarism. So maybe that's it right there. So this is again, they didn't want to come out and outright say that this was an ongoing issue. They didn't want to come out and say that this was something that happened before, but maybe Musin just is lazy and had done that. Because we know that, again, it's I'm not defending the guy at all. I think, you know, if there's accusations there, investigate them. They obviously were going to fire him regardless, because it's hard to walk back from something like that. But at the same time, stealing people's content online, and I'm a dude that reads articles and responds to articles, you know, for a living on YouTube. So like I understand in essence where this guy's coming from but you still have to give your own take on it, right? And it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing at all. The IGN has a reputation to uphold, so they definitely got rid of him. They should hire Boomstick Gaming as a way to make up for it. They really should, because that if they want to make amends, I think Boomstick had said something like he wanted all the monetary revenue that they would have gotten for that. He's not going to get that. He's not going to get that. Maybe IGN will host his review on their YouTube channel or on their website or something, and then drive a lot of traffic his way. But at the same time, we know that sites like IGN and GameSpot, they don't amount to a lot of game sales. They just don't. The ESA is reported on this. Like, they just don't. I think it's like 3% of sales, where people like Boomstick, who review games for a living, or at least as a hobby, they actually account for 11% of game sales. Those kind of reviews do. So really, you can kind of see why maybe Philippe was stealing from him, because he knows that deep down, these guys do it better. These guys are actually, you know, accounting for sales. And maybe he wanted to make sure that he was doing something that would seem on the level enough to be able to keep his job. I got no idea, but at the end of the day, IGN did in fact choose to do the right thing. I hope that they give credit to Boomstick. But that line there in the press release saying the YouTuber known as Boomstick Gaming, that comes across as like super condescending, right? That does come across as super condescending. Why not just the YouTuber Boomstick Gaming, right? Or why not Boomstick Gaming, comma, a YouTuber, right? Like it's just like they want to make sure that they go, look, we made a mistake, but we also don't want to validate what you do, because you clearly do it better than we do, Boomstick. You clearly do it better than we do, but we want to make sure that we're still better than you in the end. And this is one of the reasons why I think I'm not alone when I say this. I just really hate IGN. All right, let's talk about this last story here. This is well, not fun. Someone's dead, but it's a story nonetheless here. So the woman you see on the screen, this is a composite of a missing person, well, an unidentified person, a Jane Doe in a murder from 40 plus years ago, right? Now you may be asking yourself, why am I talking about an unsolved murder? That doesn't happen here much on this channel, but well, because it's really interesting. Stephen King's son believes that Jaws might contain a clue into solving one of America's most famous cold cases. Yeah. Stephen King's son apparently is on this train of thinking that somewhere in the movie Jaws, it contains information about a woman's death from a long time ago. Now, it says here, as evidenced by books like Horns, Heart-Shaped Box, and The Fireman, Joe Hill, son of Stephen King, has become a superb horror writer in his own right. And now, thanks to a renewed interest in a 2015 theory he first published online, he's also angling to prove himself as a real-life murder mystery detective. And let's be fair here. I think deep down inside, every writer wants to eventually solve a murder. Lord knows I do. Just putting that out into the universe. Let me solve a murder. Anyone? All right, no? Let me talk about murder then. Okay. So it says, Hill's a lifelong fan of Jaws, and as recently recounted by both the Washington Post and Esquire, in 2015, he took his 3 sons to see a 40th anniversary screening of Steven Spielberg's 1975 classic. Along with Roy Scheider's great lead performance and some legendary scares, Hill, whose full name is Joseph Hillstrom King, saw something truly eye-opening that evening. A female extra who eerily matched the description of a woman who was murdered in the same summer that Spielberg's film was produced. The victim, known as the Lady of the Dunes, was discovered in July 1974 in the beachy dunes outside Provincetown, Massachusetts, approximately 100 miles from where Spielberg shot Jaws in Martha's Vineyard. Never identified by police, this enigmatic woman has remained at the center of one of America's great cold cases, and Hill, who had recently read about the Lady of the Dunes and Deborah Halber's The Skeleton Crew, how amateur sleuths are solving America's coldest cases, soon became convinced that the anonymous actress he'd spied in a large disembarking ferry crowd scene might in fact be the slain woman. Writing on Tumblr, come on. Well, to be fair, he wrote this 3 years ago in 2015. So writing on Tumblr kind of makes sense. It says, writing on Tumblr, with the aid of above comparison between Jaws' frame grab and a composite recreation of the Lady of the Dunes' face, Hill explained what made him think he'd found a possible match. Both were somewhere between the ages of 25 and 49, both weighed about 145 pounds, and both wore a blue bandana. Though the Jaws figure wasn't specifically seen in Wrangler jeans, which is what the Lady of the Dunes was wearing when her body was discovered, he opined that it stood to reason that a young 1970s woman might very well own more than one pair of denim jeans. He says here in his post, "Now I understand that I'd only finished reading The Skeleton Crew a few weeks before. The Lady of the Dunes is in many ways the centerpiece of that book, and unlike other crimes that Mrs. Halber explores, it remains infuriatingly unsolved. After finishing the book, I had spent a few minutes online acquainting myself with the latest details and studying the recreation of the lady's face, and now suddenly, impossibly, there she was, life-size and looking over her shoulder at me, there for a moment in a busy crowd scene, and then she was gone." Now, it's a very, very, very interesting theory, right? It's a very interesting theory because it's entirely possible that it could be accurate. Now, he understands that this post of his, which has since gone viral, ultimately may not amount to much. And he may have been influenced by the Skeleton Crew. He may have been influenced by everything else that was going through his head at the time. But ultimately, this woman was found, like, she was brutally killed, right? Like, I think half of her head was almost cut off with a shovel. Like, it was almost decapitated with like a shovel or something. She was brutally killed 100 miles away from where this movie was being filmed at the time it was being filmed at. And here's the big problem, though, is getting their hands on the extras information, getting their hands on that type of stuff from the production of Jaws is probably going to be impossible. The movie is 43 years old. Getting their hands on that is probably slim to none. But one of the coolest things about this story going viral, and this is actually one of the things that happens quite often in regards to these type of cold cases, is all it takes is people to talk about it, to showcase it. And maybe, just maybe, we might actually find somebody out there who knows something, who has seen something, who is able to actually to go, hey, no, either this is me or I know who that is, and she's been missing all this time, but we never put two and two together. If this single frame on Jaws actually happens to house the remains of the woman, I'm just going to bring this up here. If it actually happens to be the woman in question, and Joe freaking Hill, Stephen King's son, is able to solve this literal 44-year-old murder, that is going to be something that is truly insane, truly amazing, and just so the internet in 2018 and how Cold Case Files goes. Now, like I've said, I very much wanted to start investigating cold cases and whatnot because they're interesting. But this story to me is absolutely fascinating. And while probably, and I'll be open to admit, probably improbable or improbable in terms of this being the conclusion, renewed interest in cases like these oftentimes get people to come out who may not have known that they saw something and then admit that they did. And that's ultimately what we're looking for here, to bring justice to a woman who was brutally beaten, unidentified, left as a Jane Doe for nearly a half century. So I'm all for this case being solved. And if it is the woman that is from Jaws, that's insane. And if not, let's just find out who she is so we can finally, truly lay her to rest. All right. That wraps up today's videos. That wraps up today. Oh, man. There's a lot of salty incels that don't like me. That's okay. I did see that we got a new sponsor, Mike Mooney. Thank you very much for that, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Let me just get a drink of water, man. Fuck, it's hot. Okay. Yeah, hit that join button next to this. I'm not against it. I'm not against it. We do have the emojis or the little things coming pretty soon. So, let's see here. Let me just bring up, where's that at? There we go. All right. Oh, man. Yeah. So, let's see here. Did I see the story about the guy who got proven innocent thanks to being seen in a crowd of an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm? I did not. I definitely did not. That's crazy. Do I think that advertisers pressured YouTube to drop Alex Jones? I don't think they did. They might have. There might have been. Coca-Cola pressured YouTube to hold on. Okay, let's see here. Mountain Dew polls, Grant Hill ad, then Coca-Cola. There was something I read that Coke had gotten mad at YouTube, and that was a thing. But I don't quite know. No, I don't see any articles here that talk about that. But like I said, there was a thing with that where you had them like kind of coming out against one of the ads, and it might have been on Family of Five or something. But it's possible that they did. But Jones, for the most part, probably wasn't running ads on his content. Like I would argue most of those already have been like just demonetized, you know, and everything else. So Jones definitely, like, I mean, there was like clips of him saying like, you know, transgender people like need to be like, we're going to be killed or something. It was kind of an, like, I don't want to say like an open threat, but it was very much getting to that point. And it's such a vocal thing. I think YouTube needs to crack down on a lot of the you know, I've seen videos on here of outright threats of murder that have been left up. You know what I mean? Like that is where we get into a bit of a tricky situation, because calling for the violence against somebody or calling for physical property to be damaged or things along those lines, or just defamation and slander, are not protected by the First Amendment. And so that is where we get into a very slippery slope in regards to everything, which is why I kind of posited the question about there being regulation as being the key to this, as being the answer to this. And there are people out there that are very much against bigger government, and that I've seen say that we need to see them regulate this as a platform, as like a public utility. And it's a very interesting conversation. Let's see here. Are there dislikes on the video? I don't know. I haven't seen yet. I haven't seen if there's dislikes on the video. Again, dislikes don't bother me. 21 dislikes. 21 dislikes is fine. Jeez. I think I was saying like 100 or something like that. Okay. Let's see here. You don't feel bad about Alex Jones? Fuck that guy who calls for violence against trans people. Some people out there are very much, you know, like, I don't know if Jones himself views it as being violent, right? Again, it's all kind of in the eye of the beholder. There's no like, it's a nuanced discussion to make, to be honest with you. It's a very nuanced discussion to be had. And that has a lot to do with the fact that people out there are, you know, they have different value systems, different ideas of what is or isn't socially acceptable. And then who is the arbiter of that? Who is the person who can make that call? Who is the person who can in fact judge all of that? And ultimately you just never really know, because it's such an open-ended thing. I like calling out the fact that Jones has pretty much the same terms of service on his website, and then is bitching about other people kind of enacting their own terms of service. You know what I mean? Like, these things are left intentionally vague, which is shitty. They shouldn't be, but I find that to be kind of karmically ironic. And that's probably the last I'm going to talk about Alex Jones for a while, just because I don't really want to keep bringing him up. 20 Phage, if you want to give it a dislike, go ahead and toss it a dislike. If anyone here wants to toss it a like, go ahead and toss it a like. It is all good. Should the government step in to regulate private companies like Facebook and YouTube? See, I would rather the government step in to regulate ISPs and how they operate and how they offer their cable packages, because that just feels like a constant. Like, why is it that my rate goes up every year with Comcast, right? Like I moved in last year, my rate was $60 a month. Now I'm paying $90 a month, and I'm getting the same service. right? And it's all like, and that's Comcast and the way Comcast operates. That to me is not right. I'm paying for the same service. Nothing has changed. Nothing you're doing is improving upon the quality of what I'm getting. And yet you want me to pay literally 50% more per month, right? So it's like, what the fuck? I would rather that be a thing. Facebook and YouTube, they, again, they are able to kind of hide underneath there was the Safe Harbor Act that Clinton signed into place back in the 90s. That would have, that basically protected them. But now with FOSTA and SESTA, the Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act, and the way that that's worded, these companies now have to essentially get rid of content like that. And it's not just sexually explicit content. It is literally other content that is going to maybe get them in trouble. And so that may be what it is too, is the Trump administration put this thing, signed this in, Trump signed it in to law. And now we're looking at possible reasons for this thing being what it did. Let's see. Do I really want the only government agency that has a mandate to censor in charge of the internet? Like, no, I don't. I don't want anyone to be censored. I just find it funny that there's a terms of service. It's the same thing. That's what I'm talking about. The hypocrisy of that shit. So net neutrality isn't what I think it is. Nah, net neutrality in regards to certain things, I think a lot of people don't like net neutrality. Why do people think I'm a shill and hypocrite? People think I'm a shill because I do this as a living and I make no, what is the word I want to use here? I don't make an excuse for doing this as a job. People think what I do is like lazy and stupid, but it's like I'm still out here doing it every day and I'm still out here doing what I do. So you can choose not to like me all you want. That's not going to change what I do. Hypocrite. I think everyone's a hypocrite at every point in time. I think everyone has the ability to be a hypocrite. I know I've been a hypocrite. It's something that, oftentimes when people pull out the hypocrisy card, which, and again, I'm going to lump myself in with this one too. I'm doing it more from like a hyperbolic perspective in this particular case. But oftentimes when someone's like, you're a hypocrite, they're virtue signaling, right? They're virtue signaling. They're trying to hold this moral high ground that in other cases, they may not hold themselves to the same standards. It's an unfortunate thing, but that's where we are. Oh, okay. I see, Curtis. I see what you're talking about. Let's see. Will I ever do a video with Review Tech? Yeah. I mean, I know Rich. We're friends. I haven't talked to him in a while because he left Twitter, which I'm actually probably going to end up doing myself. Am I playing a character? I am more, no, I don't know. I don't really view what I do as playing a character. This is me just giving my opinion. And this is why, like, I can fuck up. I can get things wrong. There are people out there that hide behind playing a character on YouTube, right? Like Alex Jones, like, oh, I'm just a performance artist. No, you're not, dude. You believe this shit. You believe it because we can go watch you on Alex Jones or on Joe Rogan. You're getting fucking high. Start talking about like third, fourth, 85th dimensions and shit. And that is you in a natural or comfortable environment. Because that's what Joe Rogan does, is he will get you in that place and then you talk about whatever. And that was Alex Jones legitimately being crazy. Let's see here. Rich is hiding out in my Discord. No, Rich is in my Discord, but like he's never on. Just do it. Leave Twitter. Yeah, I know, man. I just want to. Can't confirm Matt's being Matt. Yeah, Sestra knows me. We're friends in real life. I haven't seen Razorfist videos on net neutrality, but then again, I like Razorfist a lot, but as I would expect everyone to take with my videos, I take his with a pretty big grain of salt. I think he pushes a narrative. I think he's playing a character that pushes a narrative. So I look at it through that kind of lens. Twitter is pretty awful. Basically, all the memes are banned, even if they're innocuous. No, I had a thing this morning where someone legitimately ripped off a video of mine and uploaded it to BitChute. I found out about it, and then I tweeted at BitChute to take it down, which they did, thankfully. But the thing is I was unable to see their responses to me. I don't have them muted, right? I don't have them muted. I have nothing. BitChute, I think, is shadow banned. I legitimately think BitChute is shadow banned because I'm not able to see their replies to me today, like at all. And it confused the fuck out of me because like I could go to the tweet directly and then see that they responded, but I couldn't actually see them. And that was very weird. Very, very, very weird. So, well, okay. So no, Steve Mannon, that video was not, I wasn't advocating for sexual assault of a child, provided the perpetrator is a woman. What I had said in that video, if you actually watch the video, I started off by saying, I don't know how to feel about this. And I laid out like there are things here, because what it was is she was facing 20 years in prison. And that's ultimately what it boiled down to, was like 20 years. That seems like a lot, ultimately. And it's like, are they in a relationship? Are they planning on being together? They're going to have a kid. It was all of these factors. I voiced my opinion on it wrong, but I had said I didn't know what to feel about it, because it wasn't like a teacher and a student. There's a story that popped up today of a parent suing a school because a teacher had sex with a 14-year-old, right? And she was in her 20s, and it's, you know, she had clearly position of power coming down. That's a different situation. This situation was one that, like, I was just unsure of how to feel about it, because not everything is black and white. We live in a world of grays. That's one of the reasons why 50 Shades of Grey is so fucking popular. And so when Dave Cullen did his video response to me about that, and basically, in my opinion, very much kind of skewed what I was trying to say, or at least what I ineloquently put, it wasn't until him and I met at VidCon a few months later and we actually talked about it. I had told him my side. I re-explained it. So kind of we hashed it out. And then he said, listen, I was wrong and I'm taking the video down. I told him he didn't have to do it, but he ended up taking the video down. And then Dave got a lot of shit for that. So it's just, you know what? Everyone's going to have opinions out there people don't like. At no point was I advocating for anyone to do anything illegal. I was simply pointing out that based upon what had already happened, does the punishment fit the crime? And I just put it in a way that was relatively ineloquent. And that's the truth of the matter. You know, it's just the truth. It's the truth of the matter. But people out there, dude, there were fucking videos made about me that were titled Monday Matt is a pedo supporter. It's like, that is what came from that shit. That is one of the reasons why, like, you know, we like, and those videos are still up. I did not strike those fuckers down or nothing. I didn't do none of that shit. They're still up, making those false claims about me. I don't support pedophilia, period. You know, what transpired between this 14-year-old and that 19-year-old was, I think, like ebophilia, not pedophilia for one. But again, the wording matters. Words actually matter. And a lot of people out there never want to get it right. They just go, oh, immediately anything under 18 is pedophilia. And you're like, no, there's classifications for things. Words actually matter. Words actually have meanings, and we need to live up to those words. We need to not take a fear-mongering hyperbolic stance and actually explain what words mean, instead of lumping everything together, right? And so that's kind of where we are right now, unfortunately, is we've been there. So yeah, people can be mad at me for that one. I can explain it till the fucking cows come home. It wasn't my best video. I didn't express myself properly. I started off by saying I didn't know how to feel about it. I did as much research on it as I possibly could. I did look at it from her perspective. It's one of the things that happens when you're moderate and a fence sitter. Sometimes that just tends to be the way things go. So I guess that's that. So it says here, oh, Phage lives, $10 super chat. To your hard work, Matt, keep it up. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Dave freaked out on someone's non-opinion. Dave's a good guy. I like Dave Cullen quite a bit. I do. I like Dave Cullen quite a bit. I missed him at VidCon this year. I would have loved to have gotten drunk with him again. He's a sweet dude. He's a sweet guy. I disagree with him on a number of issues, politically speaking, but on a personal level, I like Dave a lot. So there's that. Do I think InfoWars app will get pulled off the App Store? Man, I don't know. Maybe, probably. Yeah, sorry, definitely. I'm hoping that cold case ends up getting fixed. I hope that it happens. Yeah, I just realized that everything on the screen is like really fucking blue, right? Like, and it's not even my favorite color. Green's my favorite color, yet everything, my entire motif here is blue. The Rain Matrix video in the background is pretty fucking awesome. I like it. It just looks weird with the fucking shirt. I gotta start dressing up to do this show. It's too fucking hot though. I need AC in my room. Did I hear the story about Ajit Pai admitting the FCC lied about DDoS attacks? No, I did not hear about that. Oh, that pesky Ajit Pai. I was out there doing some shit. Oh my gosh. Today's International Cat Day. Yeah, man, that's awesome. I was a little worried. Remember I did the story the other day about that person mutilating cats? One of my cats didn't come home last night, and I was a little bit paranoid. I was a little bit paranoid about that. And I'm like, no, I'll give it a little bit of time because she does this sometimes. She came back this morning. I was very happy about that. Jones is getting more and more deranged. He is. He's getting a little bit more deranged on that shit. Unfortunately, you can kind of, here's the thing. You can kind of understand why Alex Jones is getting, why he's kind of getting what he's getting. Like, you can kind of get it. You do get it. But at the same time, it's just like, oh, Jesus, he needs just calmest tits. Let's see here. What's up, Magog, motherfucker? How are you, buddy? How are things on your end? I'm actually getting ready to wrap this motherfucker up in a few minutes. I just want to make sure. I try to keep the show at around like about an hour. I think I was a few minutes in. I'll go about another 10 minutes. I just want to make sure my kid's okay. Let's see here. Kylor, just post the picture of your kid in the Discord. Oh yeah, for 135 of you guys that are here right now, by the way, thank you so much for spending part of your afternoon with me. I greatly appreciate it. People have been telling me that the show has been help getting them through their workday, which is one of the reasons why I like doing it at 12:30. We might be moving it. I might have to move it to a little bit earlier in the day just because the sleep schedule with Madison has been very off, and I'm trying to get her on a schedule, but I might have to readjust it in order to get it. So this might be like around 11 a.m. to noon instead of 12:30. So just as an FYI, that could happen. But yeah, for those of you guys who are here, if you want to keep the conversation going, if you have any questions or you want to know about what's going on with everything else, Twitter's been a bitch. I'm on Discord. I'm on my Discord a lot. Like, I'm a very easily accessible person on Discord. If you guys haven't gone already and checked it out, the link for that is in the video description. I actually want to double check. Yes, it's in the video description. And you guys can easily check that out. Okay, Curtis. Yeah, I'll check that out. The Ajit Pi thing. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Let's see here. You saw a winter prediction forecast, and I'm going to get a hot winter. That sounds like a sexual act, Anthony. You're going to be getting a hot winter, man. It's going to be all sorts of hot, cold all over your body. It's like icy hot, right? But weather. So there's that. Yeah. Also, yeah, if you guys want to submit articles, if you want me to cover certain things, mundanematt.com/submit's a great way to do it. Azur says, oh man, I hate Discord. Just take my money. Well, Azur, you were actually the second person to sponsor the channel and the membership the channel, and that's awesome. You, Kylor, and Mike, the three of you guys right here, first three are fucking great. There's that. Let's see here. Steve Bannon. Oh, this is funny. Another reason why Matt gets so much hate is because he had the single most biased take on the Maddox lol suit. He doesn't like Dick Masterson, so Matt tried to paint him as some kind of serial harasser. I can honestly tell you that since that video came out, I have been on the receiving end of Dick Masterson's critiques, so to speak, that have come at me from a multitude of different avenues and different platforms. A lot of what, I was wrong about the lol suit in terms of it being actionable. That doesn't change my opinion that Dick Masterson is a dick. And I think he knows it. But I've experienced a lot of what Maddox has experienced from Dick himself and just how far he goes on a couple things. And as a result of that, yeah, I don't feel bad for thinking the guy's a bad dude. He's not a good person at all. I was wrong about the lol suit, but that doesn't change my opinion of him. So the West will get a warm winter. The East will get a cold, wet winter. This is why you got to live on the West Coast, man. Because the West Coast, best coast, baby. West Coast, best coast. I couldn't stand being where Magog is right now. Because that's fucking Arkansas. And that's humid. And I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I may find Motherboard's latest video on Tesla interesting. What are they talking? Oh, because there's a lot going on with Tesla right now, isn't it? You've heard about Dick Masterson harassing lots of people, so you don't really feel any sorries for him. Yeah, the guy's out there pretty crazy. All right, Kyler, I'll take a look here at the Discord posting. Where'd you post you posted it in gallery? Okay. That's a very cute kitty. Let's see here. Isn't California on fire? That is true. California. I'm not in California though, but I do wish everyone the best in California. The firefighters are the true heroes of that going on down there right now. They never get as much love as they deserve in California. I was in San Diego for both the 2003 and 2007 fire. So I've been there. I've been through that shit. I understand what they're going through. It's a horrible experience and not one I wish on anybody. Same with the storms back east. It's every year climate season, you know, the summer hurricane season is getting worse. We're coming up on a year from Hurricane Harvey and then Puerto Rico. Who knows if those are going to get hit again? I mean, there's some bad shit going on. There's some bad shit happening. West coast of Florida. I don't want to go to Florida. I don't want to go to Florida, man. Screw Florida. Let's see here. West coast, left coast, get right or get wrecked. Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. Okay, Elon Musk went on an anti-media bias rant on Twitter, so now all the media hates him. Oh, yeah, I saw that too. Yeah. Then he went out there and he called that dude a pedophile. Like, Elon, you dumbass, what are you doing? What are you doing, Ellen? Whatever his name is, Elon, you know, I don't know why it's Elon, but, I mean, I saw a Tesla the other day. I swear to God, I saw a Tesla the other day that actually had the license plate for Earth on it. Right. And I'm like, that is, I get it, but that's such a pretentious fucking thing to have on your car. It's like, you just like, you know, you're a smug asshole when you do that. Like, you know, you're a smug asshole when that happens. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this thing up here. Cause I gotta get the other videos out ready to go. I got to check on the kid and I got to, record some stuff, for $3 Theater because I've been kind of slacking on that one, but I'll be back tomorrow. Be sure to, post your comments in the videos when they post up. I don't know what I'm saying on that one. Check out the Discord, links in the video description here. I'll post it here. Discord.me. I'm on there quite often if Discord operates and everything else. Again, I'll be back tomorrow. I'll talk to you guys at a later date. Have yourself a fantastic day. And remember, just be you, be cool, have fun, live your best life, right? That's some uplifting words for you fuckers. I'll see you all tomorrow.